Finally, in this video, we'll deliver the Doctrine of the Strenuous Life by Theodore Roosevelt. If you missed our background video on America in the late 1800s or the short bio video on Theodore Roosevelt, check them out. They are linked in the description section below. This is Speaking Through the Ages, where we bring back the dead and attempt to bring out the values, beliefs, and internal struggles of those humans that came before. We give context to and deliver historical speeches that motivated people to kill, riot, make salt, and sign papers. Throughout this channel, please feel free to correct any errors, exaggerations, or perfunctory explanations in the comments. To join our remote history team, subscribe and click the bell symbol to receive notifications. This speech was delivered at the Hamilton Club of Chicago on April 10th, 1899, on Appomattox Day, which is the day celebrating Ulysses S. Grant of the Union accepting Robert E. Lee in the Confederate Surrender. The Hamilton Club was a group of prominent Republicans committed to promoting political science, patriotism, civil service, and good government at the local, state, and federal levels. In the speech, listen to how Roosevelt combines his personal beliefs and background with the story of America. And now, I give you the new rendition of the Doctrine of the Strenuous Life, originally delivered by Theodore Roosevelt. In speaking to you, men of the greatest city of the West, men of the state which gave the country Lincoln and Grant, men who preeminently and distinctly embody all that is most American in the American character. I wish to preach not the doctrine of ignoble ease, but the doctrine of the strenuous life, the life of toil and effort, of labor and strife, to preach that highest form of success which come not to the man who desires mere easy peace, but to the man who does not shrink from danger, from hardship, or from bitter toil, and who out of these wins the splendid ultimate triumph. A life of ignoble ease, a life without peace which springs merely from lack either of desire or of power to strive after great things, is as little worthy of a nation as of an individual. I ask only that what every self-respecting American demands from himself and from his sons shall be demanded of the American nation as a whole. Who among you would teach your boys that ease, that peace is to be the first consideration in their eyes, to be the ultimate goal after which they strive? You, men of Chicago, have made this city great. You, men of Illinois, have done your share and more than your share in making America great. Because you neither preach nor practice such a doctrine. You work yourselves, and you bring up your sons to work. If you are rich and are worth your salt, you will teach your sons that though they may have leisure, it is not to be spent in idleness. For wisely used leisure merely means that those who possess it, being free from the necessity of working for their livelihood, are all the more bound to carry out some kind of non-remunerative work in science, in letters, in art, in exploration, in historical research. Work of the type we most need in this country, the successful carrying out of which reflects most honor upon the nation. We do not admire the man of timid peace. We admire the man who embodies victorious effort, the man who never wrongs his neighbor, who is prompt to help a friend, but who has those virile qualities necessary to win in the stern strife of actual life. It is hard to fail, but it is worse never to have tried to succeed. This life, we get nothing save by effort. Freedom from effort in the present merely means there has been stored up effort in the past. A man can be free from the necessity of work only by the fact that he or his father before him have worked to good purpose. If the freedom thus purchased is used aright, and the man still does actual work, though of a different kind, whether as a writer or a general, whether in the field of politics or in the field of exploration and adventure, he shows he serves his good fortune. But if he treats this period of freedom from the need of actual labor as a period not of preparation, but of mere enjoyment, he shows that he is simply a cumberer on the earth's surface. And he surely unfits himself to hold his own with his fellows if the need to do so should again arise. A mere life of ease is not in the end a satisfactory life. And above all, it is a life which ultimately unfits those who follow it for serious work in the world. As it is with the individual, so it is with the nation. It is a base untruth to say that happy is the nation that has no history. Thrice happy is the nation that has a glorious history. Far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to take rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much because they live in the gray twilight that knows neither victory nor defeat. If in 1861, the men who loved the Union had believed that peace was the end of all things and war and strife a worst of all things, had acted upon their belief, we would have saved hundreds of thousands of lives. We would have saved hundreds of millions of dollars. Moreover, besides saving all the blood and treasure we then lavished, we would have prevented the heartbreak of many women, the dissolution of many homes, and we would have spared the country those months of gloom and shame when it seemed as if our armies marched only to defeat. We could have avoided all of this suffering simply by shrinking from strife. And if we had thus avoided it, we would have shown that we were weaklings and that we were unfit to stand among the great nations of the earth. Thank God for the iron in the blood of our fathers, the men who upheld the wisdom of Lincoln and bore the sword or rifle in the armies of Grant. Let us, the children of men who prove themselves equal to the mighty days, let us, the children of men who carried the great Civil War to a triumphant conclusion, praise the God of our fathers that the ignoble counsels of peace were rejected, that suffering and loss, the blackness of sorrow and despair were unflinchingly faced, and the years of strife endured. For in the end, the slave was freed, the Union restored, and the mighty American Republic placed once more as a helmeted queen among nations. The timid man, the lazy man, the man who distrusts his country, the over-civilized man who has lost the great fighting, masterful virtues, the ignorant man, the man of dull mind, whose soul is incapable of feeling the mighty lift that thrills stern men with empires in their brains. All of these, of course, shrink from seeing the nation undertake its new duties. Shrink from seeing us build a navy and army adequate to our needs. Shrink from seeing us do our share of the world's work by bringing order out of chaos in the great, fair, tropical islands from which the valor of our soldiers and sailors has driven the Spanish flag. These are the men who fear the strenuous life, who fear the only national life which is really worth leading. They believe in that cloistered life which saps the hardy virtues in a nation, as it saps them in the individual. Or else they are wedded to the base spirit of gain and greed, which recognizes in commercialism the be-all and end-all of national life. Instead of realizing that, though an indispensable element, it is after all but one of the many elements that go to make up true national greatness. No country can long endure if its foundations are not laid deep in the material prosperity which comes from thrift, from business energy and enterprise, from hard, unsparing effort in the fields of industrial activity. But neither was any nation ever yet truly great if it relied upon material prosperity alone. I preach to you, then, my countrymen, that our country calls not for the life of ease, but for the life of strenuous endeavor. The 20th century looms before us big with the fates of many nations. If we stand idly by, if we seek merely swollen, slothful ease and ignoble peace, if we shrink from the hard contest where men must win at hazard of life and at the risk of all they hold dear, then bolder and stronger people will pass us by and will win for themselves the domination of the world. Let us, therefore, boldly face the life of strife, resolute to do our duty well and manfully, resolute to uphold righteousness by deed and by word, resolute to be both honest and brave, to serve high ideals, yet to use practical methods. Above all, let us shrink from no strife, moral or physical, within or without the nation, provided we are certain that the strife is justified. For it is only through strife, through hard and dangerous endeavor, that we shall win the goal of true national greatness. We hope you enjoyed this historical moment, the delivery of our first speech on Speaking Through the Ages. For our next speech, we'll be going across the Atlantic and into the British Parliament. Thank you for joining. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell for notifications. See you next time, where the dead teach.